Wow. And big blind bets actually check min raises basically. This looks extremely strong. Two players fold, and you win take it with the golf avatar. That one reminds me of Swansa's avatar. I think it's the same one. He opens to 3x in an ante game. So since there's $120 extra in the pot, there's a lot more money to go after. So you'll see everybody loosen up a little bit. So big blind bets is thinking, well, there's a lot more money out there than there usually would be. I've got a decent hand. I'm going to 3-bet. And you win take it has a lot of playability here, being, 136 big blinds deep. Queen 7-4 is a pretty innocent looking flop. I guess you win take it can have all the sets. Big blind bets is going to have some sets as well. They're going to have a lot of pairs and a lot of backdoor hands. So I expect big blind bets to go for a small bet here. And you win take its main play is going to be to call under a third pot, which means that you win take it is going to do a lot of defending. He actually does so by raising. Interesting. So he's saying, he's got a hand like a good queen or better. Maybe he's bluffing with some kind of backdoor hand like 10-9 suited, or maybe king 10 suited, maybe 5-6. The king is definitely a relevant card. I could definitely see big blind bets bet calling a hand like king queen on the flop. I could even see him bet calling a hand like ace king suited on the flop. You win take it improves with a couple of his bluffing hands. So if you had a hand like 10-9 of hearts, he now has a gut shot and a flush draw, maybe has a pair. So definitely a relevant card. And I expect both guys to be moderately aggressive on this card. And you win take it is thinking, well, in order to get the money, and I'd only have to bet that large, the board's not that draw heavy, so let me go with this third pot bet. When he bets like this, the pot's going to be around 12.5K on the river, and big blind bets will have a little bit under pot left. Wow. And big blind bets actually check min raises basically. This looks extremely strong. So maybe he's leveling. You win take it here with this small sizing, trying to get him to fold, like a hand like king 10 or king jack or ace queen. But this looks very, very strong. This looks like a hand like a sat or 2 pair, or, something he wants to get it in with. The 9 of hearts is definitely relevant. Both guys could have hit a flush or a straight, but at the same time, there's not even third pot in there. So if big blind bets were, let's say, check raising a hand like king queen, I think he still probably shoves it in, which he does. And I have no idea what they've got. Wow. Okay. Sick one. All right. So big blind bets 3-bet pre, definitely standard, and he's absolutely loving this flop. So he c-bets, and you win take it raises here with the kings. This hand is a nice hand to raise with, as in you have a very good hand. You also need a little bit of protection. So I don't mind that play. And big blind bets is thinking, well, I've got the nuts. There's no overcards that I'm scared of. Well, apparently there's one. I don't care about the flush, about flush cards hitting. I'm just going to call. I basically cannot lose unless, of course, my opponent turns a set, which you win take it does. And big blind bets ends up check min raising here basically. He's probably thinking, well, I don't think my opponent is capable of bluffing much. If he has a lower set, he's going to ship it in. If he has a combo draw, maybe he ships it in. And I don't want him to show check down on the river, so I'm just going to check raise. And on the river, he's thinking, well, I've got a set still. I block some flushes. I can get paid by lower sets, maybe pair, 2 pair. Let me just ship it in. And obviously, you win take it is never going to fold. So I'll give both guys an 8.5 out of 10. I think they both made a good play. What do you guys think? Next hand, different 50-100 game. We've got some usual suspects. So Wim Hof 3-bets to big blind. So the guy in the photo is actually called the Iceman. He is from a small town, a small city in the Netherlands called Sittard, which is actually where my parents live, coincidentally. And this guy is known for having many cold world records. So he climbed Mount Everest in shorts. He climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in 48 hours in shorts. I went up there fully clothed in like 4 days, and I almost died. So I have no idea how this guy did that. But yeah, he's a crazy guy, but very fascinating. Anyway, he 3-bets in the big blind to 13 big blinds. And you win take it calls. Jack 9-5 is, you know, a somewhat innocent board. I could definitely see you win take it having a bunch of sets. I could see Pastorcito also having some sets. But, you know, if he has an overpair, he's pretty happy with his hand. And so he goes for a half pot bet, thinking I want to get a little bit more value than I would with just third pot. 4 doesn't really change anything. I guess both guys could turn a flush draw now with a hand like Queen Jack of Hearts. 5-4 suited, I guess, is possible, but, you know, that's about it. So it makes sense for Pastorcito to want to bet big here. I mean, there's not much to fear. If he has a hand like aces, he just wants to get some value. You win take it shoves here. He's thinking, well, I've got a good hand, but, you know, on a fast play, realize my equity. Deja vu. Wow. Okay. So you win take it out of kings. His opponent had the queens, and they got it in. It ran out with hearts, but it didn't matter. So I really think I've seen this one before. But on a serious note, I can't blame Pastorcito for just betting again and calling it off. That seems fine. I'll give him a 9.5 out of 10. It wasn't a spectacular play. It was a very easy one, but at the same time, I like it. And then you win take it. Just call again pre-flop with the kings. That seems like a trend now. You are playing under the gun versus big blind, so calling is an okay play. You can also 4-bet. And he decided to fast play, thinking, well, my hand's pretty good. I need a bit of protection, which seems fine. So I'll give him a 9 out of 10. Nice play to both guys. So this game is 4-handed. We've got Yurashov, 1990, opening the button. I expect him to be 30 years old, but I don't know. Angry Ogre goes for a large 3-bet. I mean, he goes to 575, so Yurashov is still going to do a decent amount of calling here. I mean, they're nice and deep, so Yurashov has a lot of cool moves ahead of him. 5-5 deuce is kind of an innocent board, not a whole lot happening. I guess the pocket deuces are possible, a couple of pocket 5, a couple of 5x, a couple of overpairs in Yurashov's spot, but other than that, Angry Ogre is not too concerned. Jack changes things a little bit. I mean, Angry Ogre could easily have pocket jacks, but Yurashov could have them as well, and they can, you know, they could have c-bet or called Jack X and turn flush draws. Makes sense that Angry Ogre goes for a larger bet here. He's trying to get in an overpair at this point. 6 of spades hurts a little bit. I don't think either player has 3-4 suited very often. But I can maybe see Yurashov having pocket 6s occasionally. I can definitely see both guys having flushes. Angry Ogre goes for a small bet. He's saying, hey, I still want to value bet an overpair, but at the same time, I'm not a big fan of this run out. Also, I don't really know what I'm bluffing with, so I'm just going to go for a small bet, which is cool. And Yurashov is all in. And so when he shoves it in here, I would say he's repping a lot of full houses, a lot of flushes, and he's representing maybe trip 5s. Okay. Crazy hand. So, Angry Ogre has kings here. He threw a pre-standard, he bet the flop, standard, he bet the turn, pre-standard. And on the river, he's thinking, well, a little bit of value, as we said, so we nailed his hand. And facing a shove, he's thinking, well, maybe your shove turns a hand like, who knows, like ace-king into a bluff, or a hand like, I don't know, some like low pair, some type of ace-of-spades type of hand, maybe even a strongest hand like ace-jack. And so I think I can call here. But Yurashov does have a decent amount of value hands, right? And he had one. He actually had one of the thinnest value hands in his range. You know, I mean, Yurashov's thinking I can maybe get called by 5-4 suited. I can get called by some overpair plus spade, or even without a spade. At the same time, he has to be afraid of a flush, pocket jacks, even a hand like ace-5 suited makes a little bit of sense, right? So it is definitely one, and it was definitely a hand in which Yurashov was nervous. He was probably thinking, man, should I shove or should I not? I bet he wasn't sure, but he was very happy to win the 200 big blind pot. I'll give both guys a 9 out of 10. Not the most difficult play ever, but a good one nonetheless. Man, so Yurashov has a 75k stack. That is such a Yurashov play. I mean, just have 15 binds. I've never had 15 binds, but anyway, good for him. Large 3-bet by Ilinsky R. Jack 10-9 is a funny board. It's you know, both guys are going to improve on this board a bunch of sets and straights and 2 pairs and flush draws and combo draws. So Linsky ends up checking here. Yurchev goes for a third pot bet. And the turn is a 9 once Ilinsky check calls. I don't think Yurchev bets a 9 very often, but he obviously does bet straights and 2 pairs and sets that are now full houses, so he's not hating this card. I imagine Ilinsky would check call out of 9x. Big bet by Yurchev. He's saying enough with the small bets. I want to get a lot of value right here. River's a 9, and Yurchev cannot love this card. I mean, if he has a straight, you know, he's often going to lose now. So if he had a hand like Jack 10, his hand has been counterfeit. To be fair, he probably doesn't bet Jack 10 over 2 streets. So if he bets here, he's repping a lot of hands like, you know, pocket jacks, pocket 10s, maybe a hand like pocket queens. He goes for an overbet here, so he's really saying, hey, I've got pocket jacks, I've got pocket 10s, maybe have some kind of random 9. In Ilinsky, he ends up calling, otherwise the hand would be a bit boring. Wow, interesting. Okay, so Ilinsky has aces, easy 3-bet, and he actually checks his flop, which I think is a cool play, and he just check calls. Really nice play. He check calls the turn, easy call. You're beating some value hands, and you cannot fold your hand like aces just yet. Another river, he's thinking, well, I only lose to jacks and 10s, and my opponent may not play him this way always. Maybe my opponent's bluffing with a king or a queen or a flush draw, maybe some type of counterfeit type of hand. I end up calling. So I think his play is great. I'll give him a 10. In fact, first time we've ever rated Ilinsky, but he gets a 10 right away. So he should just retire right now, never to be rated again. And Yurchev, I like the call, and I don't mind tripling this one, actually. This one shows a lot of heart. I mean, a lot of guys think, well, when this guy check calls, he has an overpair, so he's not going to be able to fold it. Let me just slow down. But Yurchev actually had the heart to go for a big bet here. So yeah, showing a lot of heart. I'll give him an 8.5 out of 10. So yeah, I like the heart shown. A lot of big pots here. This game is bigger than a regular 5100 game, I would say, because of the loose play in here. So yeah, really cool hands. Cool hand. I like it.